Life is not a path of flowers. It's a battlefield. No matter who you are or where you come from, at some point, you're going to get hit, betrayed, challenged, and pushed to the limit. You're going to face moments when everything seems to be against you, where pain, frustration, and uncertainty will try to bend you. And in those moments, there are only two options: break or harden. Emotional and mental strength is not a gift, it's a construction. It's forged through hits, falls, and difficult decisions. And if you think you can go through this life expecting everything to be easy, you're lost. Because sooner or later, reality is going to forcefully wake you up. What separates those who sink from those who move forward is one thing: mindset. Stoicism is not just philosophy, it's a shield and a sword. It's not a simple set of ideas to ponder when you feel inspired. It's a way of life, a way to stand before life without fear, without complaints, without surrendering to adversity. It's the difference between who becomes a victim of their circumstances and who takes the reins of their destiny. Today, we're going to talk about 8 Stoic principles that you can apply in your daily life to develop a bulletproof mindset. They're not pretty words, they're tools. And if you use them well, I promise you'll never be the same again. 1. Let go of what you can't control and focus your energy on what you can. Most people waste their lives worrying about things that will never be in their hands. They obsess over what others think of them, the opportunities they missed, the mistakes they made, the injustices they can't change. They live trapped in a battle that is already lost before it begins. And the worst part is, they do it without realizing it. They wake up every morning, and instead of focusing on what they can do, they let their mind be hijacked by useless thoughts. Stoicism is clear on this point. Everything that is out of your control should be irrelevant to you. You can't control the weather. You can't control how others act. You can't control the past or guarantee the future. But what you can control is how you respond to each situation. That's where your true power lies. Think about how many times you've wasted time regretting something you couldn't change. Maybe it was a betrayal, a bad decision by someone else, a problem that simply arrived without you asking for it. And what did you gain from that? Nothing. Only wear and tear, frustration, and more problems. Because when you focus on what you can't control, you not only waste time, but you become weaker. You start to feel powerless, as if you were at the mercy of the world, as if you had no choice. And that's the mindset of a loser. When you waste your energy on what doesn't depend on you, you become a slave to uncertainty. You get frustrated, overwhelmed, paralyzed. But when you decide to focus only on what you can handle, your thoughts, your actions, your attitude, you stop being a victim and become the owner of your life. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus made it clear. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. You can't prevent life from hitting you, but you can decide whether those blows break you or strengthen you. You can't prevent people from criticizing you, but you can decide whether those words affect your course or whether you keep moving forward without looking back. You can't prevent the past from being what it is, but you can prevent it from determining your present and your future. To apply this in real life, start with the following. Every time you feel trapped in a worry, ask yourself this question: do I have control over this? If the answer is no, let it go. Don't spend another second on it. It doesn't belong to you. It's not your problem. It's not worth your energy. If the answer is yes, then act. Take the reins and do what is in your hands to improve the situation. But do it with determination, without complaints, without victimhood, without waiting for the circumstances to be ideal. Just act. Think of it this way. Imagine you're in the middle of a storm. You can complain about the cold, curse the rain, blame fate. But the storm won't stop because you're complaining. It won't change because of your laments. There are only two paths. Stay in the same place, waiting for the sky to clear, or accept reality, seek shelter, and move on. The storm won't change, but your way of facing it will. The problem is that most people cling to what they can't control because it gives them an excuse not to act. It's easier to say, "I can't move forward because the world is against me," than to admit that, in reality, the only enemy is yourself. The comfort of complaint is the refuge of the weak. The Stoics understood this centuries ago. They understood that the only way to live with peace and strength is to accept reality as it is, not as we wish it were. And reality is simple. There are things you can change and things you can't. Make sure to put your energy only into the former. So let it go. Stop wasting your energy on the inevitable. If you can't change it, it shouldn't worry you. Focus on what is in your hands and do it with all the character in the world. 2. Turn every blow of life into your greatest strength. Life is not going to treat you with silk gloves. At some point, it's going to throw you to the ground. It's going to hit you with blows you didn't see coming. It's going to put you in situations that are going to hurt. It's going to take away things you took for granted. And when that happens, there are only two paths. Either you crumble or you rebuild yourself stronger. The weak see the blows as an excuse to give up. They lament, complain, and sink into self-pity. But the strong, those who really achieve something in this life, understand that every blow is a disguised opportunity, because every fall gives you two options: stay down or learn to get up stronger. The Stoics did not believe in good or bad luck. They believed in character. They believed that adversity does not destroy people, but reveals what they are made of. Marcus Aurelius put it clearly, "What stands in the way becomes the way." This means that every obstacle you face is not a wall, but a step. It's not the end of the road, but part of the process. Think about the toughest moments you've lived, those that seemed unbearable at the time. What happened next? If you're still here, it's because somehow you overcame them. Maybe they marked you, changed you, made you question many things, but you're still standing. Now the question is, did you use those blows to make you stronger, or did they just remain as purposeless scars? The Stoics understood that every suffering is a tool. If you use it well, you can turn pain into growth, failure into experience, betrayal into wisdom. But if you only stay in the pain, you'll drown in it. The key is in how you respond. When life hits you, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask yourself, "How can I use this to my advantage?" Every blow brings a hidden lesson. Maybe it's the opportunity to learn to be stronger, more patient, more strategic. Maybe it's time to get rid of illusions and see reality as it is. Or it could be the signal you needed to make a change you've been postponing for too long. Imagine you're a sword. If you're never put to the fire, you'll never be tempered. If you're never hit with the hammer, you'll never take shape. If you never go through the sharpening stone, you'll never cut anything. Every blow life gives you is part of the process that shapes you. Don't run away from it. Accept it, face it, and make it worth it. The problem is that many prefer to avoid pain rather than use it. They seek anesthesia in distractions, complaints, excuses. But the pain you ignore does not disappear. It only accumulates until one day it breaks you. Instead, if you face it, if you use it, if you choose to learn from it, you become indestructible. So the next time life hits you, don't see it as the end. It's just a test, an opportunity to show what you're made of. Choose to turn every fall to the ground into a push forward. Use every blow as a step. Make everything that tried to destroy you become what makes you stronger. 3. Master your impulses and free your mind from chaos. The most dangerous enemy is not outside. It's not the people who criticize you. It's not society. It's not the world's problems. The real enemy is within you. Your uncontrolled impulses, your scattered mind, your lack of self-control. If you don't control your mind, someone else will. If you don't master your emotions, they will manipulate you with them. If you don't learn to control your reactions, they will drag you through life like a leaf in the wind. And the worst part is that you won't even realize it. You will believe you are free, when in reality, you are a slave to what you feel in the moment. The Stoics knew this well. That's why they practiced self-control with such discipline. They understood that true freedom is not doing what you want when you want. True freedom is not being a prisoner of your impulses. Anger, anxiety, despair, envy, all are automatic reactions. But what defines you is not what you feel in an instant, but what you decide to do with it. Anyone can explode when things don't go their way. Anyone can be carried away by immediate pleasure. Anyone can take the easy option instead of the right one. But a strong man consciously chooses. When you feel that emotions control you, stop, breathe, ask yourself, is this really useful? Does this help me get where I want? Or is it diverting me from the path? If the answer is no, then it doesn't deserve your reaction. Imagine you're in the middle of a mental storm. Something made you angry. You're frustrated. You feel like you're going to explode. What do you gain if you give in? What do you get if you let anger, anxiety, or fear take control? Nothing. Only more problems, more suffering, more chaos. Instead, if you stop for a moment, if you take control and decide not to act impulsively, you gain something invaluable: power over yourself. There is no greater satisfaction than knowing that no one, not even your own internal demons, can govern you. Epictetus summed it up with a brutal phrase: "No one is free who is not master of himself." If your life is ruled by impulsive reactions, you are not free. You are a puppet. Self-control is not a luxury. It's a necessity. It doesn't mean repressing what you feel, but learning to govern it. It doesn't mean not feeling anger, but not letting anger consume you. It doesn't mean not being afraid, but not letting fear paralyze you. Look at the people around you. Observe how many lie trapped in an endless cycle of impulses and reactions. They get angry about everything, make decisions based on fleeting emotions, let themselves be dragged by any distraction. They are like ships without a rudder, always at the mercy of the waves. But you can't be like that. The Stoics practice self-control daily. They voluntarily deprive themselves of pleasures to strengthen their resistance. They expose themselves to cold, hunger, discomfort, not out of masochism, but to toughen their minds, because they understood an absolute truth. If you can control your desires and emotions in easy moments, you can also do it in difficult ones. So start today. The next time an impulse wants to control you, stop. Don't react automatically. Decide. Ask if that reaction strengthens or weakens you, if it makes you freer or more enslaved, if it brings you closer or further away from the person you want to be. If you can master your mind, there will be nothing the world can do to bend you. When you have control over yourself, you have control over your destiny. 4. Accept the flow of life and let go without fear. Everything changes. Everything passes. Nothing in this life is permanent. And yet, knowing this, many still resist reality. They desperately cling to what should have been left behind. They cling to people who long ago stopped contributing to their lives. They cling to missed opportunities, past mistakes, unrealistic expectations of how things should have been. And in this attachment, they condemn themselves to suffering. The fear of letting go is a poison. It disguises itself as love, commitment, hope. But deep down, it's just fear of uncertainty. Fear of the idea of not knowing what comes next. Fear of accepting that some things simply were not meant to stay. And the more you resist, the more you suffer. The reality is brutal. No matter how hard you try to hold on to something, if it's meant to leave, it will leave. You can wear yourself out fighting against the inevitable, or you can learn to flow with life. You can get stuck in nostalgia, wondering, what if? Or you can lift your head and look forward. The difference between a life of peace and one of torment lies in your ability to accept reality without resistance. Those who have understood this walk through life lightly, not because they don't care about anything, but because they have learned to accept the inevitable. They don't fight against the current, they use it to their advantage. When something ends, they let it go without looking back. When something changes, they adapt without complaining. And instead of crying over what was, they put their energy into what's next. The problem with attachment is that it makes you weak. If you depend too much on something or someone, you become vulnerable. If you base your happiness on what is out of your control, you live with the constant fear of losing it. And when the time comes when life takes it away from you, you suffer twice. Not because of the loss itself, but because of your refusal to accept that nothing lasts forever. But letting go doesn't mean you don't care. It doesn't mean you're indifferent. It means you're aware of reality, that you understand that life doesn't stop for anyone, that clinging will only hurt you. It means that, even though something was important to you, you have the strength to let it go when its time has ended. Observe nature. Look at the trees during a storm. Those that resist the wind, those that refuse to bend, are the ones that end up breaking. But those that yield without losing their root, those that flow with the force of the air instead of opposing it, are the ones that survive. Rigidity destroys you. Flexibility makes you invincible. If someone decides to leave your life, let them go. Don't beg, don't cling, don't seek explanations you don't need. If an opportunity didn't happen, move on. If something didn't turn out as you expected, adapt and learn from it. Nothing is the end of the world, except death. And as long as you're breathing, you still have options. Look at people who spend their lives tied to the past, always regretting what they lost, always living in the shadow of what could have been. They are prisoners of their own mind, chained to memories that no longer have any real influence on the present. Don't be one of them. The key is to train your mind to let go. Don't wait for life to force you to do it suddenly. Learn to do it by your own decision. Make it a habit. When something ends, don't cling, don't resist, don't wear yourself out. Accept, learn, and move on. Each time you practice letting go without fear, you become stronger. Real freedom is not in accumulating things, people, or experiences. True freedom is in knowing how to let go without anything destroying you inside. Whoever masters the art of letting go lives without fear, and whoever lives without fear cannot be broken. 5. Live each day as if it were your last, because one day it will be. In a world full of excuses and unfulfilled promises, adopting the mindset of living each day as if it were your last, is not just an invitation to intensity, it's a cry for liberation. This phrase is not an empty cliché or a call to recklessness. It's a guideline to harness the power of now, to value each moment and transform it into an unrepeatable opportunity. Every morning, when you open your eyes, you have the chance to start anew. But for most, routine and monotony have become a silent prison that prevents you from seeing the extraordinary in the everyday. Living each day as if it were your last means breaking those chains. Stop postponing what really matters and face life with a passion and commitment that defy inertia. It means, above all, accepting that time is the most limited and valuable resource you possess, and that every wasted second is a lost opportunity to build, to love, to fight. Imagine for a moment that today is your last day in this world. What would you do differently? Perhaps you would stop worrying about what others think and start chasing that long-postponed dream. Maybe you would call that person you've always wanted to see, or express that feeling you've kept silent. It's not about a desperate act, but a statement of intent. Life is too short to live it halfway, to let fear or complacency stand between you and your true desires. This mindset is not for the weak. It's for those willing to face the harsh reality without embellishments, for those who know that tomorrow is never guaranteed and that each day is a battlefield where who you are is defined. The truth is, at some point, death will come to all, without warnings or explanations. So, why wait for fate to decide for you? Each day is an opportunity to leave a mark, to make a difference, to be a protagonist of your own story instead of a mere spectator. Living intensely does not mean jumping thoughtlessly into the unknown without a minimum strategy. It means acting decisively and with full awareness that each action carries its weight. It's understanding that every small gesture, every word, every choice shapes the legacy you leave behind. It's committing to your goals and relationships, investing your energy in what transforms you into the best version of yourself. This way of seeing life demands a paradigm shift. Stop seeing the future as an indefinite extension and start treating it as a sum of unique moments. It's about breaking with passivity, rejecting the routine that drags you down, and forging a path that, although full of uncertainty, is built with conviction. It's a call to action, to responsibility, and to courage. Because when you live each day as if it were your last, every dawn becomes a personal challenge, a commitment to yourself to leave nothing pending, to have no regrets when the curtain falls. It's not just about performing great feats or living spectacularly. It's about finding the extraordinary in the ordinary. It's observing the beauty in an everyday gesture, the opportunity in an unexpected conversation, the lesson in every difficulty. It's transforming the perception of time into an ally, instead of seeing it as an enemy that escapes without remedy. It's embracing the uncertainty of the future with the certainty that, as long as you decide to act, each day will have its own irreplaceable value. To achieve this, start by questioning yourself. What do I really want to do today? What legacy do I want to build? Life presents itself without an instruction manual, but each day gives us the possibility to write our own destiny. Act with the intensity of someone who knows that tomorrow may not exist. Don't let fear paralyze you, nor let comfort make you postpone what's important. This intensity is not simply a spark of momentary adrenaline, but a force that drives to live with purpose. It's the determination to face each obstacle with the certainty that each day, in its singularity, is worth being lived to the fullest. Don't wait for fate to force you to value time. Do it for yourself, here and now. This philosophy pushes you to be present in every moment, to be aware that each day is a battle won or lost. There are no guarantees in life, only the certainty that time moves forward relentlessly. Therefore, take each day as a gift, an opportunity to fight, to love, and to transform. Because one day, when you look back, the only thing that will matter are the moments when you decided to live with all your strength and without reservations. 6. Be the master of your emotions, or you will be their prisoner. If you do not control what you feel, then what you feel controls you. Anger, fear, sadness, anxiety, all are emotions that can cloud your judgment, distort your perception, and lead you to make decisions that you may later regret. There is nothing more dangerous than a man enslaved by his own emotions, because in that state, it is not him who acts, but his impulses. And a man without control is a man without power. The problem is that most people believe that what they feel is an absolute truth, that if something makes them angry, they have the right to explode, that if something makes them feel insecure, then it's because they really are insufficient, that if something hurts them, then they must carry that pain forever. But the truth is different. Emotions are not reality, they are just reactions, and you can learn to govern them instead of letting them govern you. Imagine yourself in an argument where someone insults you. Your first reaction is to feel attacked, to respond with more aggression, to let yourself be carried away by fury. But what do you achieve with that? You only feed the conflict. You only let someone else take control over you. Now imagine that in that same scenario, instead of reacting like an instinctive animal, you choose to remain calm, not because you are weak, but because you understand that true strength is not in responding to every provocation, but in not allowing anything or anyone to decide for you. That is power. Being the master of your emotions does not mean that you do not feel them. It means that you do not allow them to dictate your actions. It means that you can experience anger without becoming a slave to violence, that you can feel fear without letting it paralyze you, that you can feel sadness without sinking into self-pity. It means that you decide what to do with what you feel instead of letting what you feel decide for you. Those who do not master their emotions live in a constant state of chaos. They are volatile, unpredictable, easy to manipulate. They are the type of people who ignite with a spark, who drown in their own anxiety, who sink into sadness without seeking a way out. They control nothing because they never learned to control themselves. But if you manage to train your mind, if you learn to observe your emotions without being swept away by them, then you have an advantage that very few possess. Because while others react without thinking, you choose to act with intelligence. While others are carried away by impulses, you operate with clarity and strategy. To achieve this, you need practice. Start by observing your emotions instead of being dominated by them. When you feel anger rising, do not speak, do not act immediately. Breathe, think. Ask yourself, does what I am feeling really help me, or is it weakening me? If the answer is that it weakens you, then do not feed it. Let it pass. Learn to see each emotion as a visitor. You are not your emotions. You are simply the place they pass through. If anxiety arrives, observe it, but do not make it your identity. If you feel anger, acknowledge it, but do not allow it to dictate your behavior. You are the owner of the house, not the guests. Most people never reach this level of self-mastery. Most live on autopilot, reacting to every stimulus without stopping to think. That's why, When someone truly has control of themselves, they become unstoppable. Because a man who is not a slave to his emotions cannot be manipulated, cannot be broken, cannot be destroyed. This level of control is not achieved in a day. It is constant training. But every time you choose calm over anger, reason over fear, action over paralysis, you become stronger. And when difficult times come, because they will come, you will be the one to face them with a cool and strategic mind, while others drown in chaos. So start now. Every time an emotion tries to control you, remember, either you dominate it or it will dominate you. The difference between being a prisoner of your mind or being its master lies in your ability to decide, and only those who choose control have true freedom. 7. Surround yourself with strong minds, or you'll end up trapped in mediocrity. Look around you. The people you spend your time with are not just company. They are a reflection of who you are and who you are becoming. If you surround yourself with the weak, you will become weak. If you surround yourself with complainers, sooner or later, you will find reasons to complain as well. If you surround yourself with people without ambition, you will lose yours without realizing it. The environment shapes the mind. The problem is that many prefer the comfort of the familiar over the challenge of growth. They get stuck in circles where no one challenges them, where no one demands them to be better, where everything is based on mediocrity disguised as friendship. But the truth is this: if the people you have close are not pushing you forward, they are pulling you back. A strong mind cannot flourish in a weak environment. If you want to be better, wiser, more disciplined, you need to surround yourself with people who think the same or better than you. People who do not accept excuses, who do not tolerate mediocrity, who challenge you to excel. People with vision, with character, with a growth mindset. Because when you are surrounded by great minds, you learn, you evolve, you become stronger. This does not mean that you should despise those who do not have your same ambitions, but it does mean that you should be selective with who you allow to influence your mindset. You can't spend time with negative people and expect to have a positive view of life. You can't surround yourself with undisciplined people and expect your discipline to remain intact. You can't share your energy with those who just drag their existence without direction and expect to find your own. If you realize that the people in your circle are not pushing you forward, make a change. You don't have to make enemies, you just need to prioritize your growth. Look for people who inspire you, who demand from you, who make you question and improve. If you don't have them close, find them in books, in valuable content, in communities where personal development is the norm, not the exception. Mediocrity is contagious, but so is greatness. The question is, which one do you want to surround yourself with? Because in the end, no matter how strong you are, if you spend enough time in a toxic environment, you will become part of it. Choose wisely. The difference between moving forward or stagnating largely depends on who you decide to walk with. 8. Live with intention, not by inertia. You wake up, eat, work, distract your mind with anything, and go back to sleep. Days that repeat over and over again without a clear purpose. This is how most people live their lives, moving aimlessly, trapped in a routine they didn't choose, reacting to what happens to them rather than taking control. That's not living, that's existing. If you don't decide where you're going, the world will decide for you. If you don't set your own rules, someone else will impose theirs. If you don't live with intention, you'll be dragged by inertia. And inertia almost always leads to mediocrity, regret, and a meaningless life. Living with intention means that every action, every decision, and every minute have a real purpose. It's not about filling every second with frantic activity, but making sure what you do has meaning to you. It's about constantly questioning yourself. Is this bringing me closer or further away from the person I want to be? When you live with intention, you stop doing things just because others do them. You stop saying yes to what you don't want. You stop wasting energy on empty distractions. You stop moving aimlessly. You start to act with clarity, focus, determination. You start to be the owner of your life. But living with intention requires courage, because it involves taking responsibility for your choices. You can no longer blame luck, circumstances, or others. You have to look at yourself in the mirror and accept that your life is the result of what you do or fail to do every day. Many fear this level of responsibility because it's easier to move by inertia. It's more comfortable to go with the flow, to do what you've always done, to avoid questioning yourself. But comfort is a very high price when the cost is your own wasted existence. Ask yourself, am I living the way I really want to live? Or am I just surviving? If the answer is not a resounding yes, it's time to make changes. Start small. Define your values. Set real goals. Eliminate what doesn't contribute to your growth. Take control of your time, your actions, and your mindset. Because every day that passes without intention is a day that will never come back. And when you look back, the only thing that will matter is whether you really lived or just let life pass by. Choose to live with purpose. Make every decision count. Because the difference between a fulfilling life and a wasted life lies in a simple choice: to live with intention or to be dragged by inertia.
Thank you for staying until the end of the video. If you watched the whole thing, comment "I am Stoic" as our secret signal to know that you're a true student of Stoicism. Don't forget to subscribe and give the video a like if you enjoyed it. See you in the next video, and remember, keep cultivating your Stoic mind.